Breaking down all the plays and getting you in the action. We've got you covered all season long. Welcome to the BCSN Nation Podcast, powered by Marco's Pizza.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome into episode 7 of season 2 of the BCSN Nation Podcast, powered by Marco's Pizza. Thank you so much for stopping by today. We got myself, we got Justin, we got Mike Rob. All right, I want to start this off real fast. Mike Rob, what is one team that is going to shock us this week?
Ooh, the one team that's going to shock us this week?
Yes, sir.
The Findlay Trojans.
Oh, dang, you stole it.
They are going to take it to the Generals, and they're going to march down the field.
Okay, Justin?
It's right here, proof. Finley beats AW by 10 plus.
Ooh.
There wasn't a whole lot of, there's some great games we're going to break down here in the next 30 minutes. But the fact that you have a shock next to it, it was hard to figure it out because these are all going to be battles. There's some great matchups. So there's not necessarily someone who's going to be 1-5, going to beat a 6-0 team or anything like that. But good call on Mike Rob. We'll see. I'm sure we just fired up a bunch of Anthony Wayne people.
Yep.
Absolutely. All right, well, coming up on today's show, we got a big one for you guys. We're going to be talking about Maumee. Justin mentioned something last week at the very tail end, and if you missed it, I wouldn't blame you, but we're going to talk about that here to start off the show today. We're going to take a deep dive into Joey Morales' player of the week performance, also talking Central Catholic shutting down St. Ignatius big time last week. Also, our Game of the Week preview, Bowling Green out at Southview, and even more coming up on today's show. If you guys want to tune in to each and every episode of the BCSN Nation Podcast powered by Marco's Pizza, make sure to turn your TVs on BCSN every Wednesday at 4 o'clock. Go ahead and DVR it, set it to record so you get every single episode at 4 o'clock on Wednesdays on BCSN. And also listen to us on our podcast platforms, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and BCSNNation.com/podcast. And also, check out our social media for all of our content on the daily at BCSN Sports. All right, let's go ahead and jump into this first one here. So last week, at the very, very tail end, Justin mentioned, he said, Maumee has a chance to go 7-3 on the season. He said, mark it down. They have a chance. Well, they just went out and got a big win over Lake last week, 51-21. They looked really good. Cody Wolf, I believe it's Cody Wolf, got a strip sack and 4 TDs. Was also nominated for Player of the Week. If you actually saw that play where he had the strip sack, that was fantastic. We sent that out on our social media at BCSN Sports last week. But I just want to present the question to Justin. He said they could go 7-3.
Yeah.
They got the win last week. Coming up here, they got Genoa this week. How are we looking with that potentiality of the 7-3 moving forward?
Yeah, that was the key game, the Genoa game. The rest of the week, as you see on your screen, Rossford 1-5, Fostoria 1-5, Otsego 2-4. So that Otsego team is solid. They dealt with some injuries, but I think those last 3 games should be wins for Maumee based on what we've seen so far from the Panthers. This Genoa game is the key game on the schedule for them. I think they have a chance. It's going to be a battle. It's going to be a roll up the sleeves type of game, you know. But I think that Maumee's still a D3 team as far as enrollment size and roster size. Genoa's a Division 5 team. So both have decent depth. I think that Maumee dealing with the injury to Chase Malucci, he was great in the first couple weeks of the season, but goes down with an injury. Ben Kubitz has come in and filled in nicely. Not an easy job for a backup quarterback to come in and deliver similar production as the starter, but I think they've done that. You mentioned Cody Wolf defensively and offensively. He had 280 yards rushing, 4 touchdowns versus Lake. But Maumee has a chance. This is the crucial game. I think Maumee can make this a fourth quarter game and turn it into a coin flip game in the fourth quarter. But Genoa has plenty of playmakers too. Aiden Brunkhorst, their quarterback. They got Aiden Antry, a running back, who's just a workhorse and a power guy. He does the work sometimes in between the 20 and the 20. He doesn't always get the ball inside the 10 and score a bunch of touchdowns. But he is a dynamic playmaker and can change the game, flip the field with just one long run.
Yeah, and I look at it and I think you're right. I think this is the key game, but I think Genoa's a little bit OP. They're a little overpowered. They're going to overpower this Maumee football team, in my opinion. But Maumee has a chance to come out here. Games aren't played here on not Game Day Nation here on the podcast, but they're played on Friday night. So I believe that Maumee does have a chance to still do it. But I think that you're 100% right that Genoa and Otsego is going to be the 2 tough ones for them. And I think this is the week that if Maumee's going to rise, it's got to be this week.
Real quick, too. Coming into this season, Maumee going so long without a win. And here we are talking about them trying to go 7-3.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, that's huge in the first place.
Absolutely. It's a big win for their program, their district, and we're all happy and celebrating them as well. You know, the big thing is, can they keep the momentum going?
Sure.
You know, is this a one-hit wonder? You know, is this year going to happen and then they're going to fall off the next year? You know, they got to continue to back it up. But I think this re-energizes their entire program. So I don't think that Maumee's going anywhere, and especially with the new conference that they're playing in.
Yeah, it was a 34-game losing streak, you know, not a 9, not a 14, not a 27, a 34-game losing streak. They go from the Northern Lakes League into the Northern Buckeye Conference, and you can have a little bit of a debate, but for me, in my perspective, there is no debate. This was the right choice for them, a landlocked community where you can't expand. They got more people, more players to come out as a result from transitioning from one league to another. Because, you know, quite honestly, like what do kids want to do? What do 14 to 18-year-olds want to do? They want to play with their friends, compete, and have a chance. When you're going against teams who are bigger, stronger, faster than you, week after week after week after week after week, that takes a toll on you. And it just discourages you. You got to have some serious mental fortitude to say, okay, we're going to get pounded today. Give me more of that. And
Right.
It's difficult for people to say, okay, yeah, I'll hop on the train there. But I think with what Evan Karchner has done there, he's got enthusiasm, he's got the energy, he's got the alum status where he believes in what can be there. And I think that, you know, some people would say, all right, well, when Perrysburg comes to Maumee, they bring a huge gate and they bring a bunch of dollars into what? You know what also brings in dollars? Winning brings in dollars. And when you have a consistent 5 games at home or 6 games at home each year and you're playing winning football and you have families who want to go watch winning football, they will come. Build the success and people will come. Don't just say, okay, once every other year when Perrysburg comes and brings $17,000 to your gate on one Friday night in October. Let's bank on that for the future of our overall athletic department. That logic, to me personally, doesn't work.
Yeah, I would agree with you there. All right, we'll see what happens here with Maumee taking on Genoa this week. We'll find out how they perform here for the remainder of the 2023 high school football season. All right, let's jump into our Charlie's Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Player of the Week. All right, welcome into our Charlie's Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Player of the Week here on the BCSN Nation Podcast, powered by Marco's Pizza. Coming to us this week from the Whitmer Panthers, it's Joey Morales coming out there, giving us 115 yards, 4 touchdowns, and Whitmer's win over Anthony Wayne, having an fantastic performance. In his interview, he was talking about being very humble, and he was actually going to be just happy with 1 touchdown. So 4. A very happy situation for Joey Morales. And he also made sure to shout out the defense, giving him the ball quite a few times there last week in the win. Justin, what do we see out of Joey Morales this week?
115 yards and 4 touchdowns. Nothing 74 yards or anything like that. He's the grinder. He got some yards. Keep in mind, he's a sophomore. They got another sophomore, Jaden Jones, who Coach Ken Winters told me expect to see a little bit more out of him. And as a coaching staff, you want to see your team evolve. And sometimes when you enter a season, Mike Rob, you got unanswered questions. I think that some of those questions on the Whitmer coaching staff through the first half of the season, they're starting to get some answers. And they're trying to figure out who can we rely on. They've had to have Jason Kelly come in because he's a known commodity. He's a thrasher on the defensive side. He is not going to shy away from anything. And he took that hard-nosed approach on defense, applied it to offense. They give him the ball inside the 10, and he's racked up some touchdowns for Whitmer thus far through 6 games. But with Joey Morales able to get through the tackles, in addition to those outside jet sweep runs or pitches to get to the outside, they're able to have him with that offensive line gelling together. We know they're massive offensive line, having the ability to have Morales and others use all of the field as opposed to, okay, when Morales is in, a defense can key, all right, they might go out to the outside. Chances are they'll go to the outside, but that's not necessarily the case anymore. And that was on full display. A dynamic offense for Whitmer against Anthony Wayne, jumping out to a 21-0 lead and setting the tone midway through that second quarter.
Yeah, and Morales, like I want to let everybody know, that was my pick for Player of the Week, Mike Jewell.
Yes,
that
it
means
was.
I got 2 victories. Me and Mike Jewell tied. We keeping score. And he listens, so shout out to Mike Jewell. But
Yes.
more importantly, Morales is a special kid. He was hurt last year, so to be able to get in this year and to make the plays that he has, I think it's really big for this team. It's a nice boost. Talk about the sophomores, Brandon Waddell, another one of those sophomores who getting those jet sweeps, helping this team out. And having Brady Ford coming back next year as well is really going to do numbers for this program. But Morales, excellent job of that young man, running hard and just doing everything he's supposed to. And again, got to credit the big boys up front.
100%. Whitmer is going to have quite the battle on their hands this week against the 6-0 Perrysburg Yellow Jackets. That's going to be a big one. If you guys want to vote for this upcoming week's Player of the Week, make sure to tune into our Twitter at BCSN Sports Friday night at 11 o'clock, and that poll will run through Monday at noon. Let your voice be heard. All right, congratulations to Joey Morales. Let's go ahead and switch over here to Central Catholic, talking about 6-0 teams. The Fighting Irish are on their way. They're looking for a 10-0 regular season run, a potential back-to-back state championship title. Mike Robb, you talked a lot about this powerhouse team, Central Catholic. I just want to ask you one simple question here. Will any team stand in their way?
Yes.
Okay.
There will be teams that stand in their way, but they will get steamrolled as it goes on. And that's just simply it. Central Catholic's been through the gauntlet already this far this season. They've put down everybody in front of them, and they're just getting better. We're seeing the depth again starting to grow with their team. We're starting to see younger and younger players go on the field, and people are like, who is this kid? Who is this kid? And again, they got the talent on the JV level. I've been able to watch them there, because that's where you get to see who's really the next man up. They got 3 running backs that haven't even really played varsity time yet that any high school around here will probably take, hey, you can come start for us. So they're deep. They're good. Looking at their schedule going forward, St. John's, it'll be a running clock, in my opinion, in that rivalry game. And then as you continue to go down, Orchard Lake, St. Francis, and Denby down there in Detroit Central, I mean, they'll win the rest of their games at least by 30 points, in my opinion.
Wow.
I'm curious to see the one game that I might be a contrarian to the running clock and winning by 30 could be this Friday. I was talking to Coach Dempsey earlier this week out there doing a feature story with Elijah Williams, a Kent State commit, and he'll be the top recruit feature on Game Day Tailgate and 13 ABC Football Friday this coming Friday. But I asked him, last year, keep in mind, Central Catholic won the state championship, so they were legit good. Final score in that game against St. John's, 28-7. So historically, yes, I think it's 14 out of 15 that Central was beating St. John's. I'm not questioning that Central will beat St. John's, but I just kind of noticed based on recent memory that St. John's plays Central Catholic well. And I said, why is that, Coach Dempsey? Because they've blown out other teams. And he said, well, they're well coached.
Yep.
It's a rivalry game. And everything that comes with the rivalry, you're not going to just lay down when you go down 7-0 or 10-3 or 14-0. So to be able to have that type of juice and energy surrounding that game, I think that they'll be tested in a good way. And I could tell you, I know Dempsey and the boys have been tested thus far, Warren Day LaSalle, St. Ignatius to a certain degree. But I was looking ahead because I agree, I think they run the table. But within the region, teams that they will possibly face, Norton out of Akron, Buckeye out of Medina. That's within the region. And if you forecast it all the way to the state semifinals and finals, here's just 5 teams that they may play. Aurora, Youngstown Ursuline, Bishop Watterson out of Columbus, Hamilton Baden out of Cincinnati, northern suburbs of Cincinnati, and then Trotwood Madison. Central has faced Trotwood Madison a number of times in the playoffs. As they bounce from Division II to Division III, back to Division II, to Division III. But yes, the road to Canton is a little easier as a Division III, at least for this year. Don't get me wrong, there's plenty of great Division III teams or Division IV teams across the state. But this season, just looking at what has been done through the first half of the season, it looks as if Central, not going to have an easy road, but they have a navigatable road to Canton.
Yes, and you guys can make sure to tune in to Central Catholic at St. John's, 7 o'clock this Friday on the BCSN Now app. We've got that for you. We'll keep it locked to Central Catholic as they continue on in their regular season and postseason push. All right, let's jump into our clip of the week. All right, welcome into our clip of the week here on the BCSN Nation Podcast, powered by Marco's Pizza, coming to us this week from the Ottawa Hills Green Bears as number 5, John Perozic would not be denied here on this two-point conversion. Look how they're set up here. Mike Rob, walk us through this.
Yeah, right here, this is just, the muddle huddle. A lot of teams like to, run this situation to see how you defend it. I believe in the same game, they threw the ball to the outside as well in this muddle huddle, and they just ran it right in. And so when you see this and you've never really practiced it, you don't know what. We talk about Perozic. When we talk about effort and attitude and toughness, you've seen it all on display right there. He wouldn't, like you said, he wouldn't be denied. He didn't allow these guys to hold him back. And that right there juiced up this team because they went on to rout Northwood after this.
Yeah, so usually you design these formations and then you go, okay, let's go back to our regular formation and kick the extra point. So I'm thinking here, like, what did the defense present to say, okay, let's go ahead and do it? Because Northwood was lined up right across from Perozic.
Yes.
So it's like, they still went with it. But then, and a lot of these highlights that we've done in this clip of the week, Mike Rob.
Yeah.
It's the defense. Show me some effort. Like the pursuit there, these guys right here. Get there.
Yeah.
The play is not over. Number 50, number 6.
Yeah.
Get over. You're complaining
yelling.
and yelling. You get over there and do it.
Yeah.
Everybody, hey, run to the ball. Those practices, run to the ball. No matter if you're on the opposite side of the field, run to the ball because it becomes what? A habit. So you instinctually do it no matter what. So Northwood, yes, great individual effort by Perozic, but Northwood, show me something. Ken James, I guarantee, has been all over this, not only on this play, but some of the other plays. He's got a really young team, not to throw shade on Northwood or anything, but these are those teachable, lesson-learned moments for Northwood as you grow up and play a varsity-level schedule coming up from freshman JV. Hey, you got to – this is varsity football. Get after it.
100%. All right, if you guys want to tune into more highlight clips just like this here at BCSN, then follow us on our TikTok. It's at BCSN Sports. Every Friday night, we're pumping out a bunch of these awesome highlight clips. Make sure to give us a follow over there so you catch up on all of our highlight clips. All right, we've got football every week, but we've also got student sections every single week. We reward the student sections out there in our area with the awesome Unison Health student section of the week. Belton this week coming to the Bedford Kicking Mules. Oh, man, congratulations to you guys out there in Bedford. We will see you this Friday with the student section of the week. Belton, if you guys want to win the Unison Health student section of the week, then make sure to send us your photos and your videos every single week using the at BCSN Sports and hashtag SSOTW. We will keep our eyes out for you guys out there. And trust me, I'm paying attention. If you guys haven't won yet, don't get discouraged. There's still several weeks left in the regular season. Keep it up. And we'll see you guys here soon. All right, I want to talk here today. We've got a lot of really big games coming up this week. And another big one that we've got coming up is Anthony Wayne at Findlay. We've got this big NLL Buckeye Division matchup. Anthony Wayne coming off a loss to Whitmer last week, 42-28, falling to 4-2 on the season. Also, did happen to fall out of the Robinsons rankings top 5.
Absolutely.
And then Findlay just went out there and shut out Springfield, putting up 53 points over the Springfield Blue Devils, improving to 5-1 on the season. So here's my question for Justin here. Is Anthony Wayne the hardest matchup for Findlay since week 1 against Central Catholic?
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a pretty easy answer. Yes. And the gauntlet schedule will begin with this game against Anthony Wayne for Findlay, because in the next 3 weeks, Anthony Wayne at home at Findlay, and then Findlay's got to go to Perrysburg and go to Whitmer. So this is what the Buckeye Division is all about this season. The 4 contenders battling it out on the field, figuring out who is for real. And we know Ryan Montgomery, Findlay's quarterback, is for real. He's the new career passing record leader with, mind you, a season and a half still to go. But is Findlay the real deal as a team? I think they have not been last year. I believe 5-5 regular season record. Montgomery was doing great things and getting blocked up front with his brother Luke Montgomery, who's now at Ohio State. But this is the test game. This is another roll up the sleeves type of game for them. Anthony Wayne dinged up a little bit. So, yeah, we mentioned at the top of the show, both of us think that Findlay would win this game. But I've learned to never count out. Truth be told, I picked Anthony Wayne over Whitmer last week at Whitmer. Yep, I was wrong. But I think that Findlay has taken necessary steps. I like the defense. The defense is better. There's been times in recent years where Findlay would put up the points with Montgomery leading the offense, but they'd also give up a bunch of points. So I think that this year Findlay has taken a step, and then we'll see if they can take another step this Friday against A-Dub.
Yeah, I think you're 100% right. I mean, again, I thought that Anthony Wayne would win that game too, and they didn't win because Whitmer was just better. And you kind of knew that Whitmer just had the better talent on that field. So, I figured that that's what was going to happen, but I thought coaching would change things up. So I think Anthony Wayne will bounce back this week. They'll make some corrections, and they'll make this tough for Findlay. But again, Ryan Montgomery throws the ball so well. The secondary of Anthony Wayne kind of got exposed a little bit, some of their deficiencies on defense, and I think that this is just one of those games where, you're going to see Findlay really come out here and go for the gusto, in my opinion. I think they want to put the nail in the coffin here.
All right, well, keep it locked to BCSN. We got that game and a bunch of other big-time games coming up this week on BCSN. And one of those big-time games we got coming up here is in our Game of the Week preview. All right, welcome to our Game of the Week preview, brought to you by Dunn Chevy in Oregon. Jump in this week. We got Bowling Green at Southview in this Game of the Week, Friday night at 7 o'clock on the NLL Network. Host of Game Day Tailgate, utilizing our flexing schedule abilities. Yep. Jumping over to Bowling Green at Southview this week. Bowling Green coming off their second loss of the season to Clay, or just on the season in general, versus Clay last week, 28-56, giving them an overall record of 4-2, averaging 37 points per game, and also averaging 35 points allowed in their games as well. Southview coming off a win over Scott last week, 28-12, putting them to 3-3 on the season. They're averaging 30 points per game and averaging 28 points allowed as well. So a lot of offense, but also allowing a lot of points on the defense as well. Mike Robb, what are we looking at here with this Bowling Green at Southview Game of the Week matchup?
You look at Southview and you look at their offense and the way they've been playing, they've made steps to get better. Obviously, they had a gauntlet of the past 3 weeks. Going against some teams that they weren't expected to beat, and that's just tough for them. But more importantly, this is a game that they can be in. You've seen the template, you've seen what can happen and how to win versus Bowling Green. You got to get them behind the sticks because then they can't pass the ball, and then they still can run the ball extremely well whenever they want to. But this is a game about defense for Southview. Offensively, we're not really questioning how well they are because we know that Sexton, he can get it done. Yeah. Mazies can do it as well with his arms. They got Emmett Lamb. They got all the pieces all around them. And now Offenberg as well is defensively. Can they be tough enough to stop the bludgeoning that Bowling Green is going to attack with?
Yeah, I think Southview is in a prove-it mode. They got Cardinal Division games only the rest of the way. Yeah. They've got through that gauntlet, Findlay, Perrysburg, and Whitmer, and then they had to go on the road to Scott, and they respected Scott and the playmaking ability that the Bulldogs had, but they got away with that 28-12 win. For Bowling Green, the running game, they still had 300 yards rushing against Clay despite the loss, but J.C.S. Shannon, Peyton Harris, Jackson Schaefer, Jamison Horst have all been guys to rely upon, and the guys up front, offensive line shout-out, A.J. Miller, Ryan Gerwin, Drew Erickson, Hunter Kozlowitz, and Novion Reagan have done a great job for that Bobcats, just controlling the clock in many respects and just dominating on that offensive side of the ball. But you mentioned Emmett Lamb, you mentioned Avery Offenberg, Will Mazies, Isaac Sexton potentially could break the Southview career rushing record with 140 yards or more in this game. So he's got a shot for that. And their offensive line, too, has done really well. They'll all tell you they should have beat Whitmer. They'll tell you they should have beaten Whitmer against at Southview. But those offensive linemen for Southview, too, Brady Cernikowski, Jace Rowland, Roman Christie, John Adamczyk, and Scott Hearn all have done great jobs for them. Southview is a little dinged up. They might have to rely on a backup or two in some potential key positions. We'll see how that plays out as we approach 7 o'clock kickoff. We'll get some latest updates on Friday at 6:30 during game day tailgate, so stay tuned for that and how this one could look at it from a different perspective, I guess you could say, based on the personnel that will be actually on the field. But Southview's got a chance to run the table, win the Cardinal division, and then they got to avoid any teams in the Division II region. They want to avoid the Avon teams, Avon and Avon Lake. Right now they're 1 and 2 in the top seeds in those regions. Top 16 make the playoffs, but everybody knows that those are the clear-cut guys, so you want to avoid them. You don't want to play them in the first round. You want to play them in the second round. Okay, third round, after you get some wins in the playoffs, you're going to have to face them at some point. But I think that's what everybody wants to avoid. So all those playoff points, the name of the game is you win, and then the team that you beat, you want them to win out because you want to score as many points as you can going all the way into the final week 10 and then see when those brackets come out come the end of the end of the regular season.
And we are getting very, very close to that. So definitely pay attention to BCSN. We got you guys covered for every one of these games moving forward. And speaking of games, we've got more games than just this game of the week here and all these other games we've already talked about. So Justin, coming up this week, Thursday and Friday, we've got a bunch more games. What are we looking at here this week?
Here's the piece of paper right here with all of the games. Scott at Woodward. Are you and Tim Clegg on the call once again?
Yes, indeed.
You know it. All right. Scott Bulldogs should handle Woodward. Then we got Bowling Green, Southview. As you look at the list there, Perrysburg, Whitmer. We're going to dig a little deeper into that in just a second. Anthony Wayne, Findlay, Ross Clay, Waite Start, Central St. John's, Lincoln Bedford, Sandusky, St. Mary's, Central Catholic versus Toledo Christian, and then in Erie, Huron versus Bellevue, and Edison Perkins. So keep that screen up there. So we got the huge games that we've already talked about. Edison Perkins, both of those teams undefeated, both ranked top 10 in the state. And then this Perrysburg-Whitmer matchup, I want to address a little bit more time there. And then outside our viewing area, huge game between Patrick Henry and Liberty Center. Both teams ranked. That's a turn off the lights as you leave because the only lights that are going to be on is at Rex Lindgren Stadium. That is going to be a primo showdown. It's great when those two rivals across the river play each other. So we'll have highlights of that one on 13 ABC Football Friday. But let's delve some more deeper into this Perrysburg-Whitmer matchup, Mike Robb, because playmakers galore in this one. Brady Ford to Logan Frank has been awesome. So has Josh Tackett to Gavin Fennekin. It's not going to come down to just those four players, but this has all the makings of a four-quarter battle royale.
Absolutely, and these two programs really don't like each other or care too much for each other either. These are the classes of this new NLL league. And looking at this Perrysburg team, I really like what Tackett can do. And I think as a leader, he's grown and gotten better. Now he's going to have to fight his nemesis, Brady Ford. These guys worked out together. They do quarterback training and things like that. But more importantly, it's about the supporting cast, offensive line, who's going to step up, defense. And that's where I'm looking at here. Will the Panthers be able to stop the rushing attack that they're going to see from Perrysburg? Because they're going to run the football and they're going to be aggressive up front. And then you also got to look at the side characters in here like Dominic Woods, who's going to be another key factor in this game as he's a game breaker on both sides of the ball. And then on the other side, Whitmer, Brandon Waddell. I've talked about this kid again. He's a Perrysburg kid. There is some bad blood here. He was supposed to go to Perrysburg, felt slighted. Ended up at Whitmer, and now he's a starter over there, and he probably should be a starter at Perrysburg. So you got some little beefs going on within here, but it's good rivalries, and I think this is going to make for a really good game. So keep your eyes on number 24 this week.
It was who's going to be more physical last week, Whitmer taking on Anthony Wayne.
Yeah.
Whitmer won that battle. Same thing, in my opinion, applies for this game here. And both teams have kind of been tested. I would probably say Whitmer has been tested a little more, playing Central Catholic, playing Olentangy in the first 2 weeks of the season, playing last week against Anthony Wayne. Perrysburg got tested a little bit by Southview. Perrysburg got tested on the road at Marysville. Marysville. So, but this is, in my opinion, a coin flip type of game.
Yeah.
And it's going to come down to who wants it more, who does not turn the ball over, who figures out a way to convert in the red zone, who controls the special teams. This is kind of everything matters. All details matter, not just on Friday night, but the details matter on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. All the preparation that goes in to know, okay, what do I need to do, and then how do I play fast and physical on defense? How do I hit the mark on offense for a quarterback, running the precise routes? et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
What does Deion Sanders say? It's personal.
There you go.
There it is. All right, we'll have that game for you guys 7 o'clock on the BCSN Now app this Friday. Make sure to tune in next week on the BCSN Nation Podcast powered by Marco's Pizza. We've got you 4 o'clock on Wednesday. We've got the football. We've got the podcast. We've got you guys listening. Make sure to tune in next week. Thank you so much for stopping by. We'll see you then.
Touchdown, BCSN Nation Podcast.